Welcome to Vedic Mathematics Basis Base Values classes. We are continuing with our initiation and exposure to 5-space VMST. In this phase 14, we are concentrating upon Uma Samhita, the fifth Samhita of Shipron, and today in lesson 83 we shall be focusing upon the concepts like Yamlok, Swarg, Nark, and also we shall be having a main focus upon the organization of within creators of space, for space, and the organization of the transcendental domain. The creative domain means the 4 space, transcendental domain means 5 space, and we know 4 space and 5 space are having interconnected roles when we glimpse the organization of 5 cross 5 Varga consonants, which are having values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a transcendence range of a linear order, then transcendence range of spatial order, transcendence range of solid order, transcendence range of creative order, and transcendence range of transcendental order. Further, by having a relook at visit of this format, we see that the northeast diagonal is the diagonal of uniform value 5 at its each of phases and stages. Above this 5 northeast diagonal of 5 cross 5 grid of Varga consonants, the step ahead is a diagonal of quadruple values and value 4 at each of the quadruple phases and stages. And on the other side of this diagonal is a fine diagonal but of quadruple values with value 6 at each phase and stage. The central northeast diagonal leads to value 25. This diagonal leads to value 16, and this wire diagonal leads to value 24. Therefore, here when we are to have a visit to the organization within the creative domain, that means within 4 space. So within 4 space, we have to revisit as to how this 4 space domain permits a degree of freedom of motion for a 3 space body as a cube of 12 edges, and this degree of freedom of motion manifests the 13th edge. Further, we know that 5 space plays the role of origin of creators of space. As such, the dimensional frame of the origin itself is of value 15. 13 edged cube, the 13th edge as a degree of freedom of motion for 3 space body within 4 space, making a setup of 13, value 13, and this 13th edge gets coordinated with the origin, the center, and here is a solid dimensional frame of value 15, and it as such makes a setup of value 28, which is a second perfect number, and it is a TCV value of formulation Brahm. With these features as such in our mind, we know that the 4 space is of the spatial order. As such, the 13th edge with its spatial format makes the value 13, and 13 is equal to 26. and we know 26 is of the organization 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8. So it is the transcendental dimensional order, 5 space in the role of a dimension, giving us hypercube 7, a unity state, a state of the pole star, which plays the role of origin of a 6 space. Further, we know that value 26 and value 28 are of the format of 26 as a dimension and 28 as a domain. These all features are simultaneously at work within the creative domain, a 4-space domain. The 5-space domain we know is of the format and features a raised to power 5 is to 10 b raised to power 4. This 5-space domain is enveloped within a creative boundary of 10 components, and this creative boundary of 10 components as such gives us a split of 2 parts. One part as of a creative boundary of 5 components, giving us value 4 into 5 is equal to 20, and the other part as well gives us a setup of 4 cross 5 is equal to value 20. We know that value 20 is the TCV value of Skand, and it is also the value of a Ganesh. We further know that Skand and Ganesh are the sons of the transcendental Lord Shiv. This organization features as such splits a 5-space domain into 2 parts, into 2 hemispheres, and it is this feature of split of the transcendental domain into a 2 parts, into a pair of parts with the creative boundary of 5 components for the above part as well as the lower part also being of a enveloped within a creative boundary of a 5 components. Here there are 5 creative components, and here as well there are 5 components, and it is this feature, it is this format with 6 space in the role of a origin of 5 space and 4 space playing the role of a dimension of a 6 space. Now it is this split up which we can say that when we are at the 4th stage, means Ganita Sutra 1 with the first letter a value 6, second letter is value 4, third letter is value 2, and fourth letter is of value 7, and this gives us a summation value 19. And 4th sutra we know is a pravarte yojet, pravarte yojet, a simple rendering of this formulation. 4th sutra is transpose and to apply. This transpose and apply, or transpose and unify, when is applied here, that means the upper part will have a placement as a lower part, and the lower part will have a placement as an upper part. Therefore this part, upper part, when will be having a lower placement, then this placement of the hemisphere or the part, upper part of the transcendental domain will, at the transpose and apply rule, will give a value 19. Further we know that hypercube 5 in the ratio a raised to power 5 into 10 b raised to power 4 makes it an 11 geometry's range. This 11 geometries range gives 11 versions of hypercube 5, and each version is Rudra, and Rudra is of TC value 17. In this way, we know that this part value 19 and the upper part, lower part with an upper placement will get a value 17, and hypercube 5 itself we know is a fourfold manifestation layer which lead to value 18. 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 is equal to 18. It is this reach, it is this organization format features of the transcendental domain will take us to that upper hemisphere and lower hemisphere will be having a synthetic giant of value 18. Now this is taking us to the role of a 5 space as a origin of a 4 space. The placement of 5 space within 4 space is of 5. This is now this 4 space we know is of the value a raised to power 4 into 8 b raised to power 3. This gives us a Yama letters. This makes us and takes us to Yamlok, and we know Yamlok is of value 12 plus 14 is equal to 26. Now 5 space in the role of a dimension will be taking us to creating a Yamlok here, and this Yamlok as it is we know in the ratio 8b, so there are 8 solid boundary components available. These 8 solid boundary components, when these are stripped off, then we know we will be getting a 3 space going in the outer space and dimensionalizing it and making it a 5 space. So pair of 3 space dimensions, solid dimensions give a value 5. Triple dimensions give us a value 6. Quadruple values give us value 6. 5 solid dimensions give us a value 5. And then a step ahead value comes to be 6, 3, and then is a 0. So if we had started at a 0, then it gives us this this parabolic reach in 8 steps, and it is this feature which makes a setup for the upper as well as for the lower part. So these become the 9 Yama letters of the Devanagari alphabet, and we know that 8 cubes boundary, solid boundary, and with the origin as well of the solid order origin of 5 space, so it is the 9th cube. It would be 9 cubes of fixation, 9 solid points fixation of the creative domain, and that is why this value, the first value is 9, and at 8 steps it takes us to value 16. Here also one can have a pause and see, start with 3 square and reaches up till 4 square. These all features are there and are simultaneously at work. In the light of these features, we have to have a revisit to the organization format of Uma Samhita. And here in the Uma Samhita, first concept is to be of a Yamlok. And here we also know that this Yamlok will be giving us a values in the form that within creators the space, for space, this reach of 7 steps will give us 4 into 7 is equal to 28. So, and we know value 28 is giving us 5 proper divisors. It makes 28 into 5 is equal to 140. We know that these 10 creative components, so each is a hypercube 4. So hypercube 4 is 2, 3, 4 and 5 gives us a value 14, and 10 of them give us 140. In this light, we have to be very sensitive to the organization format features of Uma Samhita, so that we should be in a position to appreciate the phenomenon of incarnation of goddess. The Rudra Samhita, Shat Rudra Samhita and Koti Rudra Samhita have been focusing upon the incarnations of a goddess, of God Shiv. So incarnations of Lord Shiv have been the points of focus of Rudra Samhita, Shat Rudra Samhita and Sahastra Rudra Samhita. Here in this Uma Samhita, the focus is shifting from the incarnation of God Lord Shiv to incarnation of the goddess Uma. This shift from the incarnations of transcendental domain presided by transcendental Lord is to the creative domain being presided by the goddess. So creative domain is the domain of the powers of the goddess. The transcendental domain is the domain of the features of the powers of the transcendental Lord. Therefore, when we have to go to the incarnation of goddess, then if we have to go to the Markandeya Puran, and Markandeya Puran takes us to Durga Saptasati, and these values and features of incarnation of the goddess are being preserved and carried forward by the Uma Samhita. Therefore, for having a glimpse of the incarnation of the goddess, and we shall go through the organization of the Durga Saptasati, which is a scripture of 13th chapter, 13 chapters, and the 13th chapter is of 29 shlokas and artha shlokas and uvachas. Now value 29 is parallel to the organization of double digit numbers 0 to 99 of 10 place value system along 9 cross 11 grid, with the upper part of the grid with the mirror line 0 1 0 to 91 to 100, and this part, upper part, with the inner mirror line of 11, 22, 33 and 44 gives us precisely 29 reflection pairs. And further, the organization of these 29 reflection pairs is that 9 of them are those numbers like 0 and 1 0, which have one of the digits being a 0. And further, the mirror placement of 11, 22, 33 and 44 are self-reflecting artifices, as one is a mirror, one is object, one is image, one is object, two is object, two is image, three is object, three is image, four is object, four is. Therefore, there are actually mirrors within these placement values as well. Now these 4 together with these 9, 13 are the reflection pairs which make a class, and the remaining are the 16. This organization is parallel to the organization of Ganita Sutras, being 16 and 13 being the Upsutra. Here it also will be relevant to take note that if we change the values 1 to 16 and then further we change the factors of these values, we will see that these factors come to be 29. Therefore, value 16 gives 29 as the factors. These features as such being available with us, therefore, in the light of the same, we have to revisit the organization format of the 5th Samhita, Uma Samhita of ancient wisdom textbook Shiv Puran of 5-space VMST. 5-space VMST is initially as Rudra Samhita, Shatrudra Samhita and Shashtrudra Samhita is giving us insight and enlightenment about the incarnation of the Transcendental Lord, which would mean the different roles being played by 5-space. The different roles being played by 5-space is one of the features of 5-space VMST. Then we know the transcendental domain remains enveloped by a creative boundary. As such, the second focus of VMST is 5-VMST is that we shall focus upon the different roles of 4-space. So different roles of 5-space and different roles of 4-space are to be chased as simultaneous roles. So simultaneous roles of 5-space and 4-space are to be chased. Once we are face to face with this phenomenon of transcendental domain remaining enveloped within a creative boundary, and as a process thereof there happens to be a flow, transcendental flow along the Sthapatya miring rod, and it is this flow of the Sthapatya miring rod as such would mean a flow along a format of hypercube 1 to hypercube 6. Now let us revisit this range of values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. This 6 steps long values range, when different choices are had from this range of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to reach at value 6, and we'll see there would be 32 times. It would be 32 frequency of reach for value 6 by having a choices of values from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now value 32 is a value which is 2 raised to power 5. Therefore within creators the space, which is a spatial order space and dimensional frame is of 2 raised to power 4, then its origin takes us to value 2 raised to power 5. It is here where we can have a fresh look at the 5-space as the origin of a 4-space, and 5-space as the origin of 4-space as such creates a transcendental cavity. It is this transcendental cavity which is the central focus value of the creator's domain. Therefore the incarnations of the goddess, the incarnations of the goddess Uma is going to be that we are having Uma, U, Ma and A. It is going to be 3, 9 and 2. 9 is the value of the 9 geometries of a 4-space. Therefore we will be having a format 3, then here we are having 4-space which is free of its entire solid boundary, and it remains only a 5. So it is a 2 here. So from the spatial order to solid order reach is going to have a transition when we have to be through this state, this transcendental seal in between the values 2 and 3. So transition from 2 to 3 with a seal at this 2.5 and 2.5, making it 5. These are the features which split and reorganize a transcendental sphere into a pair of transcendental hemispheres, and like that the value 32 further gets organized as 17 and 15 as 15, 16 and 17, with 17 at the roll of the middle of the center. This transition of 15 to 17 makes it Swarg and Nark. All these features are at work, and these features as these are at work and these features are to be faced. One shall sit comfortably, permit the transcending mind to be face to face with these features of the creative domain and the transcendental domain, having a simultaneous play. 5 space domain enveloped within a creative domain, and 5 space playing its different roles, and 4 space playing its different roles, and 4 space and 5 space together also simultaneously playing the roles. This simultaneous roles of the creative domain and the transcendental domain are the phenomenon of the incarnations of the transcendental Lord and incarnations of the goddess. And then we know that these will give us a simultaneous reach with transcendental Lord having Lord Vishnu within cavity of his heart, and Lord Vishnu having a Lord Shiva within cavity of his own heart. And this unified phenomenon is the phenomenon of our solar universe, and it is the phenomenon of existence within us, within human frame as a Purusha. These values are to be imbibed by the sadhakas, so that tomorrow, in our conclusive lesson of this phase, we shall be in a position to re-evaluate ourselves as to how far we have been successful to be on the transcendental path, to have a parallel appreciation of the incarnations of transcendental Lord and incarnation of the goddess. Thank you very much.